In the 4th century, deep in the silence of the Egyptian desert, a mysterious early Christian mystic known as Pseudo Macarius wrote some of the most powerful descriptions of the inner spiritual life ever recorded. Though his true identity remains unknown, his teachings changed the course of Christian mysticism. For Macarius, the core of human consciousness is not neutral, mechanical, or empty. It is a living flame of divine energy. He believed the soul contains a hidden fire placed there by God, a seed of divine presence that burns quietly beneath layers of distraction, fear, and ego. Spiritual life, he taught, is not merely moral improvement or intellectual study. It is the awakening of this flame until it becomes a blazing union with God. In this video, we explore his profound vision of consciousness as divine fire, a living presence that transforms the heart into a sanctuary of light, the heart as the center of divine awareness. For Pseudo Macarius, the heart is not simply an organ or a symbol of emotion. It is the center of consciousness, the deepest interior of the human person. He described the heart as a small vessel that contains dragons and lions, but also angels and the kingdom of God. In other words, the entire drama of human spiritual life takes place inside the heart. The heart holds memory, imagination, will, longing, and the capacity for divine presence. Macarius believed that every person possesses a hidden chamber within the heart where God dwells secretly, even when we are unaware of it. Awareness of God is not something we achieve by reaching toward the heavens. It is something we uncover by descending into the depths of our own being. The heart is a cosmos, wounded, distracted, but permeated with divine potential, the fire that sleeps beneath the ego. Macarius used one central metaphor again and again, the fire of God within the soul. This fire is not metaphorical emotion, but an actual spiritual energy. He claimed that the human soul carries a divine spark, but it often lies dormant, hidden beneath layers of ego, anxiety, and desire. When consciousness becomes entangled in fear or self-centered thinking, the flame is smothered, yet even then it never disappears. Macarius taught that awakening begins when a person becomes aware of this inner fire, often through silence, prayer, or deep suffering that breaks open the heart. The transformation that follows is not intellectual, it is energetic. The flame begins to expand, warming the cold parts of the soul, burning away illusions and illuminating awareness. What we call spiritual awakening is, for Macarius, simply the moment the inner flame begins to breathe. The descent of the divine light. While many spiritual traditions emphasize ascent, climbing toward God, Macarius emphasized God's descent. He taught that divine light pours downward into the soul, filling the heart like fire descending from heaven. This descent is not dramatic or forceful. It comes in quietness, in stillness, in moments when the mind is uncluttered. Divine light pierces through the cracks of our inner life, entering places we thought were too broken, too dark, or too hidden. Macarius insisted that this descent is not rare or reserved for saints. It is the ongoing activity of God seeking union with every human soul. Consciousness becomes luminous not because we rise to the divine, but because the divine descends to us, transforming our awareness from within. The fire of God becomes the light by which we see ourselves and the world with clarity, compassion, and truth. The transforming flame, from fragmentation to unity. According to Pseudo Macarius, when the fire of divine awareness fully awakens, the inner life undergoes radical transformation. The fragmented self, pulled in conflicting directions by desires, fears, and impulses, begins to unify. The heart aligns around a single center, the presence of God within. This unification is what Macarius called purity of heart, not moral purity, but undivided consciousness. In this state, perception changes. The soul no longer experiences God as distant or external, but as a living presence permeating awareness. The inner flame becomes a guiding intelligence, shaping choices, healing emotional wounds, and dissolving the illusions that previously clouded the mind. The human person becomes, in his words, all flame. Macarius believed this is the true purpose of human life, to become transparent to divine light, to let consciousness burn with the energy that created the universe. Union as the full ignition of the heart. For Pseudo Macarius, the destination of spiritual life is union, not fusion with God's essence, but complete harmony with his energy. He described this union as the soul becoming fire through participation in God's fire. It is a relationship of intimacy, where human consciousness resonates with divine presence. In this state, the mind rests in silent awareness, the heart expands with compassion, and the soul becomes luminous. Life no longer feels like a struggle against the world, but an unfolding of divine energy through every breath and moment. Union is not an escape from the world, but a transformation of how we live in it. We become instruments through which divine fire warms others, healers, helpers, lovers of the world. For Macarius, a fully awakened soul becomes a torch carried into the darkness of existence, lighting the way for others. The flame is already within you. Pseudo Macarius offers a message both ancient and timeless. The divine is not distant. It is already burning inside the human heart. Consciousness is not a biological accident, but a chamber of divine fire waiting to be awakened. His teachings invite us to stop searching outward for spiritual fulfillment and begin turning inward into the silent, luminous depths where God's energy lives within our awareness. When we discover this fire, life is transformed. Fear softens, illusions dissolve, and the soul becomes radiant. Pseudo Macarius reminds us that the journey to God is not a journey across distance, but the ignition of a flame already present in the core of consciousness. The divine light is waiting. The heart is the altar. And awakening is the moment we finally feel the fire that has always been burning within. Please, if you could do me a favor and double-check if you're a subscriber to this channel, that would be tremendously appreciated. It's the free thing that anybody that watches this show can do to help us here, to keep everything going. So, please double-check if you've subscribed, and thank you so much because in a strange way, you are part of our history